computer. All right, so recording. And oh, I have a couple of my students here. So I have Aurea and I also have Miriam. Good morning. So great to see you. And some other families too. It looks like Maria's here with her family. So nature journaling is a really great activity to do with other people, as you guys have discovered, right, being part of the group. And Brian's got his daughter hanging out with us too. When we model nature journaling, observing nature and drawing nature, we're setting an example for the future generations, right? Even if it's not a child that's in your home, I'm sure that there are children in the neighborhood, once we're able to, reconnect with folks, a niece or nephew or a grandchild, right? That when we're on that video call, you can share maybe the journal page that you made and ask them what's in their nearby nature, and we can spread that. So there was some recent research that I was just reading about through the Children in Nature Network, has a great newsletter and website. Anyways, they were talking about how, for people to care about our earth and the environment is what two things that really make a difference. One is time outside in nature, like in nature physically. And then also the second one is having another human being, a person, an adult or caregiver or whoever, who is modeling how to care for nature. So you're caring for nature by observing it and sketching it and drawing it. So, and you are teachers, right? We can all teach. So I just hope that, whatever you're learning from my sessions, Brian's sessions, Jack's sessions, anyone else's, that you're able to just, bring that into your practice and to share that with others. So I'm so happy to see so many faces. Holly's back and Anne, good morning. So I wanted to start in today with, let's see, just a brief overview for those of you who are still new to Zoom. Down at the bottom of your screen, if you're on the computer, if you mouse down to the bottom of the black square, you'll see a bar that comes up that has a little microphone symbol and a little video symbol. And those you can mute and unmute yourself and stop your video or turn on your video. If you're having trouble with the speed of the connection, of your connection, turning off the video usually solves that. And if you're still having problems, you can log out, log back in. Brian is here, my co-host, and he's checking the chat box and making sure people are getting into the meeting. So, and if you have any trouble, just chat in the chat box. If I'm not able to see it, Brian is going to keep track of that for us. So, and I'll wave to Brian here. I think some of you already know him. He's on the corner in my screen, but I think he might be somewhere else. Let's see. Oh, and you can change from speaker view to gallery view. So in your Zoom interface, if you go up to the top right corner, it'll either say speaker view or it'll have a little 9 square keypad. And if you could just go ahead and press that now, it toggles between 2 different views. So one, you'll see everybody. The other one, you'll see whoever is speaking is going to be larger. And anytime you want to see someone's little thumbnail picture bigger, if you hover over that little thumbnail, there's a little box in the corner with 3 white dots. If you click that, there's an option to pin that video. That means it's going to make that video larger temporarily. So you can pin it and then you can unpin it as well. So this is just a few little tips to help you in your navigation during Zoom. And if you're on a device like a phone or iPad, it's the same controls, except you're going to tap your screen and then you'll get the option to mute yourself or stop your video. And one thing just to notice, if you happen to be moving around and carrying your camera or computer with you, sometimes it makes people a little bit dizzy and can give us vertigo if your screen is really large. So if you wouldn't mind, if you happen to need to move somewhere, turn off the video momentarily and then turn it back on when you come back. So those are just a few little tidbits that might be helpful here and in other Zoom meetings that you're in. I would love we've got 21 folks on the call. I would love for you to go down to that bottom bar I was talking about, and there should be a box that says chat. If you click on that, you'll open up a little box. And I'd love for you to put your name in there and where you're calling from, because we'd love for everyone to see like how wide of a reach this particular call is, and just so that we can like feel the energy right from around the globe, like who are we and how are we connected to each other. And maybe something about what you want to learn in nature journaling, like in your personal practice. What is it that you are looking to learn? Maybe you're brand new and you want to learn everything, the basics, or maybe there's a particular aspect of nature journaling that you want to learn about. I think it was Walt asked last week about gear. So next week we're going to plan on talking about what's in your gear bag, your nature journal gear bag. So would love for you to, I'll remind you at the end, take a photo of what do you take out when you go out in the field. And if you can send that to me, I'll include that in my presentation for next week, and we can share about, what kind of things, what cool things that we use. So I'm seeing some names pop up here. We've got Walt from New York, Juliet's in Carmel Valley, Suzanne's in Connecticut, Brian's in Sacramento, sunny and warm. Let's see, Karen's in Pacific Grove, Nancy in Oakland, got some Santa Cruz and San Jose, Brooklyn, New York, developing my style and composition, okay. And Manchester, Mike, keen to encourage my grandkids, awesome. Let's see, San Rafael, Santa Cruz Mountains, inspired by how everyone does their art. Yeah, if you don't know already, Brian Higginbotham is the host of the Great Valley Nature Journal Club, and he does his video calls on Saturday mornings. And yesterday he talked about inspiration and how are you inspired by other nature journalers or artists or scientists in your practice. And it was a really great presentation, just opening up the idea that, oh wait, we don't have to learn from just one teacher or one place. Like, there's inspiration everywhere, and the more that we share and exchange that information, it helps the greater, it's for the greater good. It's not just for your own benefit, it benefits everybody. So you can connect with him. I think he'll probably type in there how you can connect with Brian. Gilroy wants to learn everything. All right, basics. I'm starting up a class. I know a couple of you have already emailed to say your interest, but I'm starting up a class to jumpstart your nature journaling practice. So I'll give a little information at the end of this call. Moss Landing. Let's see, get over some hangups about drawing. Okay, awesome. Yeah, Erin, right? How many of us have some difficulty with drawing? Let me just show your hands if you have a little difficulty in drawing. Yeah, right? Okay, how many hands up? There's a lot of hands up, right? But the more that we practice, the easier it's gonna get. And I'll show you tips on how to quiet that inner critic. Okay, yes, and Brian said you can email him if you want to have questions about the sessions or sign up for the future sessions on Saturday. So, all right. Well, this is so exciting to see everybody. Oh, Nicole, welcome back. Okay. I am, for those of you who are new, I'm a naturalist and educator, and I have a background in science. And my passion is introducing people to nature. And nature journaling is a really powerful tool to help us learn to get to know nature a little bit better and to develop and deepen that relationship with the natural places outdoors. So, I work with children, and I also work with senior adults, lifelong learners. So I have a whole range of folks that I work with, and I love working in person. And so it's been a little bit challenging to shift gears to this video format, but it's really nice that so many of you hop on and we get to be together for a little while on Sunday mornings. And nature journaling is just observing nature, right? Looking deeply, and it doesn't have to be quiet and meditative. It could be something that you do for 5 minutes. It could be something that you do for 2 hours. We observe more carefully. We do practices that allow us to slow down so that we can see what's in front of us. And we use drawings to share our experience with nature with others. And we use words and pictures and drawings to enrich that experience and record that so that it can be like a keepsake that we could look at later on. And there's research evidence that shows that the more modes of senses that we use to get to experience something, the greater that memory retention is. We remember it better. So for those of you who want to improve your memory, nature journaling is a really great tool to use. Okay, and it also awakens your ability to see differently. Like, I know we can all see, we have eyeballs, right? We can see. but there's something that shifts. And I've heard many of you share that in this process of nature journaling, you're starting to see things that you walked by 100 times and you see it in this different light. And that's pretty, I don't know about you, but it's pretty exciting. And, you know, I've been nature journaling for a long time, and there's always something new that I'm learning. So it's never ending. So if we can always just, you know, be excited and have this sense of curiosity, a childlike wonder, right? Remember what it was like to be a child and just be fascinated in a snail, you know, moving across a leaf, or, you know, a bird digging a hole in the ground, or a gopher popping up in the lawn. And if we can tap into that joy, you know, we can connect with nature in a way that brings us peace. And we can certainly use more peace right now and joy. So I'm glad that you guys are here, choosing to spend some time here nature journaling. Okay, so I promised you that I was going to talk about drawing bird song. So I'm going to share my screen. And when I'm sharing my screen, I can't see everybody. So if you have any questions, put it in the chat and Brian can let me know. Oh, whoops, before I do that, I should start my presentation first. Let's see. So you're probably wondering, well, how am I going to draw a sound? And I've wondered about that a lot, and I'm particularly interested in birds. And with birds, more often than not, you're going to hear it before you see it. And with my auditory sense, I feel like I need some help to remember things that I hear. And so I like to use words and pictures. And when I'm nature journaling sounds, I've just kind of naturally developed some ways to how to put those sounds onto paper so that I can remember it, and so that I can use that as a learning tool, and also as a way to get to know the birds. Maybe there's some sounds that I don't know. There's always sounds that I don't know. And if I try to put that on in my nature journal, I can come back and I can revisit it. Okay, so I think this should be working here with a little wren. Oh, last week we were observing nature through direct observation. We talked about naturalists, and we did a species account. So that was just a little recap. And if you wanted to share, you know, a takeaway or something that came up this week about the species account, feel free to put it in the chat, and then we can visit that at the end. Aurea, did you have a question?
Really a question, but I just think how I would draw a sound is with shapes and colors. Like what is
Awesome.
what is the shape of the sound and the color of it?
Yep.
That's a way for me to draw sound. So that's
Yep.
probably
Awesome. Yeah.
We're wondering how a way to draw sound. That's
yes.
how I draw sound.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You heard it from Aurea. All right, now the mystery. We're going to tap into the mystery. Okay, so sounds in nature. You know, when we've been talking about these different sessions, we've been doing sit spots and sound maps. And the interesting thing is when we're doing our sit spots, a lot of the information that we get is auditory. I mean, we use our visual sense too, but the cool thing about hearing is that it's 360 degrees. So when we're sitting and viewing, we can only see what's kind of in front of us and you know, a little bit in the side view, the peripheral view. But with sound, you can hear behind you, above you, below you, everywhere. And that's a lot of, you know, sensory input that comes in. And not only can you hear all around you, you can hear a long distance. Like you might be able to hear, you know, something that's, I don't know, 100, 200 feet away, but you might not be able to see exactly what it is. So we're getting a lot of input from our ears, but are we putting that in our nature journal? So I'm going to talk about how, hold on, I need to minimize some of these little screens here. I can see my screen. Okay. Oh, so it's just like IDing a new plant. So, you know, when we've done our comparison drawings, we go out and we'll, you know, look at one leaf and a leaf that from a plant that's a little bit different, and we're drawing very carefully. We, you know, make notes about the color, the shape, the texture, how many leaves are on the plant, whether they're alternate or parallel, maybe the veins, maybe the color. So when we don't know a plant, we're putting all that information on our journal page so that we can go back home later and look at a field guide or look it up and try to identify what it is. Well, it's the same thing for birds. So if you are saying, I don't know my birds, I have no idea, how to draw the sound of a bird if I don't know who's making noise? Well, we're going to do the same process. We're going to write everything about that sound like a detective. We're going to write that down so that we can learn about it. We can deepen that learning later on. So we're drawing what we experience. And, I said, yeah, what? How do we draw bird sounds? Well, describing a bird song is kind of like recognizing a friend's voice. So, when we're on the phone, we can't see who's on the other side, but we are able to recognize all kinds of things about that person's voice, right? We might be thinking about like, oh, the pitch, is it a high or a low voice? Or maybe it's the speed at which that person speaks, or the rhythm, or maybe they have like a movement in their speech, or the volume. Some people are very, soft-spoken. Some are really loud and bombastic. Maybe the lengths of the notes and the spaces in between them. So that's the same thing for, our voices, or the quality of the sound. So we're going to talk about a little bit of each of these different qualities that we can identify in a sound that we hear. And we're going to use words, pictures, and numbers, right? Those three key aspects of nature journaling to put bird song on paper. So the first one I wanted to talk about is pitch. So that just means the high or lowness of the sound. So think of musical notes. So many of you probably took some kind of music appreciation in school, and you understand that like all of the 5 lines, the stave, the staff, and the little dots that are on the line. The lower dots mean that it's a lower note, and the higher dots mean a higher note. So we'll think about pitch in a bird song. Is it a high voice, or is it low, or does it rise when it's singing, or fall? So we're going to do a little sample song here. Everyone knows this song, right? Twinkle, 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 little star. So I want to invite you to, you can sing that yourself, and maybe use your hands to show, like, is that a low sound or a high sound? And is it moving? How is it moving? So, the way that you could do this is, so start at low, twinkle, go up higher, twinkle, little, come back down, star, right? And so when we're doing this with our hands, it's kinesthetic. So we're incorporating the sound that we hear, not just in our ears, but in our bodies, because you're using our hands or arms. So this next slide is showing the twinkle, twinkle, little star, and I've drawn these little lines to show the pitch, right? Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Now, if there was a bird out there that was singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, or ABC, you can write this in your nature journal. You can draw these little lines, right? These are 2 notes, twinkle, twinkle, little star. That's what it sounds like, the pitch. So we're describing the pitch of a sound. And I want to say that we're talking about bird songs, but we can apply all of these to any kind of sound, a person's voice, or other, man-made sounds that we hear in nature that we want to incorporate in our sound map or in our journal page. And some devices and tools that are useful in visualizing sound. One is called a spectrogram, and it's a visual representation of sound. And so here's a little picture over here on the right, just to kind of give you an idea of on the left axis, the up and down part is going to be the high and low sounds. So the high sounds up on top, low sounds down below. And across this length is going to be time. So for example, this wood thrush is making these sounds over time. It's singing, and then it's a lower tone. Then it's kind of an alternating warbly back and forth for a little ways. And then it goes up to a high song. And you'll see that each of these different birds have different patterns because they're singing differently. And I don't know about you, but for me, being able to visualize it is really helpful in learning that I'm listening to different bird songs. And so the spectrogram is great because it gives you the pitch. It tells you the rhythm. The volume by darker lines is louder. Quieter lines is lighter, and the patterns, like look at this bird down below on the bottom. I cut off which kind of bird it was, but you'll see it does a series of 4 notes that are identical, and then it goes to some kind of like this up and down kind of sound. So that's one way that we can visualize sound. And there's, you can go online and look up spectrogram and birds, and you'll find lots of different information about that. You can get an app. I just got a free app that I put on my phone that you can record any song, and it'll show you the spectrogram of that song. So you can use music, you can use your voice, you can use your cat, and visualize the sound. It's a really cool tool. Another device that I like is the mnemonic. So that just means I'm using a pattern of letters and or associations to help your memory. So for bird songs, a couple examples here. One is, "Oh dear me." I don't know if anyone recognizes that song. "Oh dear me." So those of you here in California, you'll recognize that as the golden-crowned sparrow. Right? And so having these words, "oh dear me," it has really been helpful for me when I was learning how to identify golden crowned sparrows. So it's not actually saying "oh dear me," but it's a way for me to remember that those are the tones, right? Or the rhythm. Another one here, for example, is "Peter, Peter, Peter." Lots of birds that have like these two-tone rhythms, right? If you go outside, you might hear one. "Peter, Peter, Peter." It might be low, it might be high, but this is just to describe the pattern. Another way that we can describe sounds and remember sounds is to mimic them. So one is this one here is an example of a Pacific slope flycatcher. And I have them in my garden. I don't know if you guys have. They arrived a couple of weeks ago, and they're busy out there singing, and they go, "Pee-weep, pee-weep." So it doesn't mean that they're saying "pee-weep," but I'm trying to mimic with my voice, right? My voice box with the sound that I think I'm hearing. And so that's a good tool to use to help you record that into your nature journal. So here's an example. We have the Eurasian collared dove. We have them around here in California. I think they're from Eurasia. They're not native, so I think we have them in all different kinds of places. But it repeats the song that sounds like "cuckoo, coo, cuckoo, coo, cuckoo, coo." I don't know if you've ever heard that before. But this is an example of how you can represent that sound. So the red lines here is showing the length of each note, right? What I'm hearing is that second coo is longer than the notes in front and behind it. And then it repeats. So if you're writing the words here, like cuckoo, coo, you could put square brackets or parentheses, and you can say that phrase repeats. You can also put notes in your book that says, "oh, the pitch is low and unchanging." Another way that I do is if I'm using words, I'll put all caps if I want to accent that. So the bird is not saying "coo, coo, 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 coo." It's going "coo, coo, cuckoo, coo, cuckoo, coo." There's an accent. So I'm going to be sharing with you lots of different ways to record sounds. So don't feel overwhelmed. You can come back and revisit this video again, but I just wanted to point these things out. So I'm going to stop my share for a moment, and I'm going to let you hear what that bird sounds like.
Could you also share what app you're using for the spectrogram?
Oh, yes, I just downloaded it, and I'm still trying to figure out how it works, but it's called Spectrum View. Spectrum, capital V, all one word. So I think Brian will be able to type that in there. And then I think I was gonna, sorry, just gonna take one moment. Let's see, does anyone have any questions about what I've covered so far while I'm looking this up? All right, so here is a website that I like to use that you might be interested in if you're interested in birds, is allaboutbirds.org. And I'm gonna go back and share my screen. And this website is, all right, so this is on my browser. And this website's really cool. You go to allaboutbirds.org. You can go scroll down to bird guide. You can type in whatever bird you want. It gives you pictures and range maps and a little bit about their background. It has a little silhouette, what they eat, all kinds of cool stuff. But what I wanted to show you is you can listen to their songs, pictures of different plumages. And I'm going to scroll. Oh wait, actually I'm going to go right up here to the top. Can you see what I'm doing? Thumbs up if you can see. All right, I'm going to go to sounds. So this is, if you want to do this on your own, you'll go to the specific birds, go to sounds, and then you can listen to them right here. There's calls and sounds. Or what I like to do is go here, listen to more sounds of this species from the archive. And this is really cool. So this goes out to their Macaulay Library from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. And it gives you these spectrograms of recordings that other people have recorded. So I'm going to play this. There's a little bit of delay in the sound, but you can see the Eurasian collar dove. So we went cuckoo, coo, right? So we're looking for those 3 lines. So I'm going to click on this. All right, were you able to hear that? Okay, great. I forgot. I wasn't sure if I put the sound on. Okay, so you can see that in the spectrogram, these hooting sounds are really low. So it's a low sound, right? Cuckoo, coo, cuckoo, coo. So that's one example. Another example is, wanted to do the Pacific slope flycatcher. So I'm going to go back up to my search, and we'll do Pacific slope flycatcher. This is the next one I was going to sing for you, but we'll have him sing first. Look how cute he is. This is a flycatcher. So this bird flies around and catches insects that are flying. They're pretty cool. And we're going to go back to the archives. We're going to listen to Pacific slope flycatcher. Okay, so there's a couple of calls. A couple of sounds, the song and the call. So I want to look at the call. So I'm going to show you this.
LNS catalog number 7600.
All right, did you hear that? It was a pee-weep, pee-weep. So it goes pee-weep, pee-weep. So that's a way that you might want to draw that in your book. I'm going to go back to my slide show. All right, are we back on the slideshow? Can you see that?
Yeah, you are. There was a question if you could play
yes.
some sounds again, though. People are interested in that.
Yes, the Pacific slope flycatcher.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to play it. I'll do a couple more cycles here. So there were other bird songs scattered throughout the spectrogram that you can see that are lighter. So you can tell the softer sounds, maybe those birds are farther away, were lighter. And the Pacific slope flycatcher that was closer to the microphone was darker. And you can see that there's different pitches and the different voices that are in the chorus. So feel free to visit this resource. It's online, anyone can access it. And it's a pretty fun place to, just go find some of the birds. Okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna screen share again. All right. And here's the Pacific slope flycatcher, right? And, I think it's saying pee-weep, pee-weep. Doesn't matter what you write. It's just, this is for your practice and for you to remember and recognize. And also know that field guides often have the song of the bird. I forgot to grab one. I don't have one in front of me, but oftentimes in a field guide, you look and it gives the sound. And sometimes it'll give these, the mimicking sounds like pee-weep. And it might be a different word than what you're hearing, because sometimes there's variability in where the birds live in your range. So just write out whatever it is that you think that you're hearing your bird singing. American robin, I won't play the song, but the mnemonic I use is cheerily, cheer up, cheerly, cheerily, cheer up, cheerily. And it'll do this kind of rhythm, maybe a little bit, slightly different. The robin in your backyard is going to be different than the robin in my backyard, and it's going to have a slightly different voice, but the overall pattern will be cheerily, cheer up. And you can draw this, whatever way that you're hearing it to help you remember. Okay, so mimicking the sounds, we talked about this. So I know everyone's muted, so I can't hear if you guys are, saying these out loud. But I encourage you to, when you hear a bird calling, call back to it. You don't have to say it loud. Maybe just, really quietly. What is it? What does that sound like? Practice using our voice, right? That's another way to just really get close to that sound. So here on the right is a red-shouldered hawk, and the red-shouldered hawk's voice is kiar, 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 right? And so when I was learning, well, I still am learning different bird calls, but when I'm learning and I try to say the word, I write it down and I see the written word, it helps me remember it. And so actually, when I'm listening to a hawk sound in the air, for a moment, I'm actually seeing the word kiar. It's weird in the way that my brain works. I'm actually seeing the word kiar, kiar, and I know that's red-shouldered hawk. So I don't know how you remember things, but that's one way that's been really helpful. The common yellowthroat, in a lot of books, it says witchetty, 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 but I don't hear that. I hear witchy cheer, witchy cheer, witchy cheer, witchy cheer. I don't know if it's the local common yellowthroats, but they don't say witchetty. They say witchy cheer. That's what I hear. And here is a ground bird, the California towhee, and it makes a tip sound. Tip, tip, tip. So if you're not sure how to write the sounds of the birds, go grab a field guide, a bird field guide, and just flip through it.
Do you have a recommendation for a field guide?
Recommendation. So this is the answer I always give for recommendations of anything is the best fill in the blank field guide is the one that you will use. So I will tell you which ones I use. I like to use the Sibley Guide to Birds. And it doesn't mean that there's not other ones that might be better or might suit you better or that you like or that's more accessible to you. For me personally, I started with Peterson's Field Guide because I love how he drew arrows on how to identify different parts of the bird, and that really helps with learning birds. But I like the format of Sibley's and the order of which he presents the birds in the book. And just to let you know, I also teach a bird class, and I say that looking at a field guide is a representation of, it's not a real bird, it's a cartoon of a real bird, and showing all the different characteristics to tell that bird apart from another. So when you're looking at a picture, a painting of a bird in a field guide, you're not going to see that bird outside. So it just takes a little bit of practice to calibrate, right, your brain into like, okay, this is the painting and what does the real bird look like? And that comes with just getting outside and practicing. There's some great field guides. So I would recommend just go, check it out, go to it when we can, go to the library. The library is a really great resource for field guides. You can get one on mushrooms and trees and mammal tracks and all kinds of things, and flip through and see which one is appealing to you and what you like, and start there. And then, as you start to use it, then, you'll get to know like, what is it that I like to use and what I like to look at. Okay, hopefully that helped answer on that question. The next step I wanted to talk about was the quality of the sound. So there's a lot of words that you can use. Here's a few examples. A clear sound, whistled, burry, raspy, harsh, melodic, metallic, liquidy, warble, a hoot, trills. Maybe it sounds, this is getting into like the language of birds, like the purpose for which these birds are making those sounds. Maybe it's scolding. Maybe it's a jay that's, upset that there's a cat skulking around, so it's scolding the cat. Or maybe that you might be starting to hear this soon, chicks are begging, right? There's a different quality in the sound when a chick is begging for food than when an adult is singing. You might hear a gentle sound or an alarm, right? Maybe there's like some predator on the prowl and the birds are alarming and telling everybody, watch out for that danger. And here are some graphic representations. Melodic might just be like kind of woo, kind of swirly lines, and you can describe, I'm hearing a melodic sound that is really high pitched or low pitched and melodic. Or maybe it's buzzy and it makes you make you feel like you want to draw some lines that are up and down. Or maybe it's loud, and they're going to be dark lines. So here, I'm going to, you can look at my image. We'll draw like maybe Oh, the other thing I wanted to say was color, right? Araya was talking about that too. Maybe you want to use a different color. Like maybe the sound of that bird makes you think of yellow for some reason. Yellow. Grab a yellow pencil and draw it in yellow, or color it in yellow, or yellow wash, right? So we're not stuck with just using the pen that we have in hand. So, perhaps it's a bird that's going, tit, 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 tit. Well, how do I draw that? I might just like draw these little dots, right? And just say, oh yeah, the tones are like really short, a whole bunch of them in a row. Or maybe the sound is like, whoo, 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 right? Long straight lines. And then maybe I'll write it here. It's saying who. And I don't have to know who's making the sound. What I'm doing is being, a recorder of these auditory observations, and I'm writing down in words, pictures, and numbers what I'm experiencing. So maybe, there's one bird in my yard in the springtime that was singing, and it was going. It was this like kind of raspy sound. So, I just said, "What sounds like?" I'm like, "How do I write?" I don't know. You just make it up, right? It's making that sound, and it's really loud. But then it stops for a while, and I counted the seconds, right? So we're using numbers, so you can count. So the sound was 1 second long, and the interval, I don't remember. I think it was like 5 seconds. So 5 seconds in between the 1 second long, loud, raspy sound. So I don't have to know the bird that made that sound. All I need to do is just write this. And then you will, over time, be able to recognize it. Because one day you might be listening and then you see the bird, right? That's cool. If you see the bird singing like, aha, now I can draw you, right? Then I'm going to go, oh my gosh, it had a black head. And then it did that, and it flew away. That's okay. This is a good start. Black head. Right? So this is about building our observations. So I'm not necessarily going to know who is singing something, especially if it's a new bird to me. And we're just collecting data over time. So just like, Jack always teaches.
Melinda?
Yes.
Ken and Cindy had the observation that looking at your writing.
Yes.
The melodic sounds tended to have more vowels, and the harsh sounds had more consonants.
Very good observation. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I just got sidetracked here. No, that's really great. Like noticing that, that the harsher sounds or the melodic sounds, or even like the way that the sounds move, maybe they're going upwards. Like there's a bird that like sings upwards, like a question. It's like, I think the goldfinches, I write down, it sounds like they're questioning things. They're asking questions. When in human language, when we go, at the end of our sentence, it's a question. So to me, I'm thinking it's asking a question because of the sound. So that's a way it reminds me of, right? So coming back to this, I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, I could say it reminds me of someone asking questions, or it reminds me of a person chattering. I notice that the sound is coming from that shrub over there, but I can't see the bird. And I wonder why it's not visible. What is it doing? Is it sitting on a nest? Is it eating? So, we can bring these sentence starters into our practice when we're talking about sounds as well. And then, oh gosh, it's 10:11 already. Just real quick, I want to share a few examples from my nature journal this year. Actually, this spring, I've been doing a lot of writing song. So there's a bird called a California thrasher. And earlier this spring, it was just singing its heart out. Every morning was out there and would sit for long periods of time. So one morning I was sitting outside and I couldn't find words to describe what he was saying. Like I just could not come up with the sounds and with words fast enough. So I just drew lines. So here we go. Here's a song. So it was going something like, here, 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 here. Here, 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 hurry, 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 here, here, hurry, 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 here, here. So I know it sounds silly when I sing it, but this is helping me remember this bird song. And the cool thing about this is the next day, there was a different thrasher, and I would have assumed that it was the same thrasher, but it had a different song. It had different words, like in the song. Like this one was saying, was it this one? Beaver, beaver. I think this one was saying beaver, beaver. And this other one wasn't. So I I can learn like the individuals without even seeing the bird, but I can do it from the song. So it's pretty, I don't know, I just thought it was pretty cool. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. I'm just sharing some ways that you can visualize sound, so that, you know, the way that I've discovered is really helpful for me. So going back to showing the rhythm, here's a bird that was going kick, 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 like a really quick little sound. So I wrote what it sounded like, and I put dots on here so that later on when I come back to my journal, I'm like, oh, that thrasher was making that kind of sound. And words to mimic the sound. So here's a cool one, the white-crowned sparrow. You know, when I was learning the white-crowned sparrow, I didn't know who it was that was singing because I heard the song, and to me it sounded like chee choo choo choo, chee choo choo choo. And it kept singing over and over again so that I can keep listening and keep refining, like, what is it that I'm hearing? So I wrote words, and then I wrote with lines. It accented this high note, and there was kind of a busy bunch of notes here. And it was a clear whistle, so I wrote that there. And you can also use musical notation. Musical notation is awesome for this because musical notation shows the pitch, high or low. It also shows the rhythm. And so I have a musical background, so I put these musical notes, and they don't have to be the right note. Like, it doesn't have to be an A or a G or an F sharp. It's relative, right? So the first note is lower than the second note. And the third note is, the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth notes are lower than that second note. And they all sounded the same. So they're the same note. So this is another way for me to learn how to identify this bird later on. Also duration, right? We're counting how long, how many seconds in between, musical notation, using words. Bird, I call it bird music. And so I made a separate page because I was recognizing that, like, there were all these different songs, and I wanted to put them on one page so that I can kind of see the players in the symphony. And as I'm learning some songs, you know, I would write this down, then I can come back to this page and I'm like, who's that song? Who is that person singing right now? And I can listen to it and think it's saying, oh, ticka, 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 we're seer, seer, seer. Oh yeah, here it is. It's a Buick's wren. Yes. And then that deepens my understanding and learning. So we can deepen learning by coming home. So we're in the field. We write whatever we can. And then we come home, we can look in the field guide, look for the words or the mimicking calls, listen to audio samples online. You can fine tune, like maybe you didn't catch to see, like, did it repeat? Or was it just the same thing? You know, what was it about it that you didn't catch? And then you can, when you go back to that spot, you can listen for it and fine tune that. And there's apps that ID bird sound, but I would really recommend just sticking with nature journaling, drawing it, because you're going to own this information and remember it easier. So before we log off to do our journaling, I wanted to share that I have an upcoming class, an intro to nature journaling, so you can jumpstart your nature journaling practice. So anyone who's interested, you can email or contact me via Facebook, and I will send you information on the details and how to reserve your spot. And there are going to be weekly sessions online on Zoom. I'm going to keep them small so that we have plenty of time for people to ask questions and do some journaling together during the class. Let's see, you can contact me. Here's my email, sparkinnature@gmail.com. You can contact me also through Facebook. You can join us on Monterey Bay Nature Journal Club and join us here and post your pictures. And if you'd like to support more nature journaling sessions, I welcome donations. I have a PayPal account here, paypal.me/alpacamel, or if you prefer Venmo, Melinda-Nakagawa. So for today's sketches, I wanted to do maybe a couple of warm-up sketches. So we're gonna do, oops, let's go back. We're gonna just grab your pencil and your paper, and we're gonna go listen to some bird songs or sounds outside today. But before we do that, let's warm up our hand and our eyes, and grab a piece of paper. And I'm gonna do this for, let's see, maybe like 30 seconds. Let me get my timer going. Clock. All right, how about like we sketch for 30 seconds each? All right, just like sketch whatever that you see without, just really quickly sketching. Maybe notice the veins and the water droplets. All right, we'll move on to the next one. So 30 seconds drawing this guy. And just like light and loose, quick sketches. You don't have to do any hard lines, just kind of get the shape of the eyes and the face, and maybe some of this striping. All right, moving on to the next one. Just loose sketches, just to warm up and loosen up your hand. All right, one more. Wow, look how short his tail is. He's got a huge head compared to his body. All right, okay, one last one. Oh, cool. Notice how these P's are lined up. They're not all in one line. Sorry. It's good to say out loud your observations when you're nature journaling. Okay. All right. Hopefully that wasn't too stressful. It's just an exercise to warm up your hand. So you can do this on your own. You can go and Line of Action is a great website that you can go and you can set it. And so it shows a different picture every 30 seconds or whatever. I didn't want to do animals. I kind of wanted like plants and like leaves and flowers. So I just went and picked some pictures and put them in a slideshow here. So you can do something similar as well. All right, so today's activity is let's go outside or look out your window. Maybe if you're not able to go outside, you can get by a window and maybe crack it open if it's not too cold and see what sounds you hear. And if you're not able to hear outside sounds, that's okay too. Maybe inside, wherever you're at, just sit quietly and listen for the quietest sounds, all the sounds that are around you, whether it's your breathing or the computer fan humming like mine is, or your neighbor knocking, and draw those in your journal. And use I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of. Use the words like we talked about, in numbers, counting how many times it makes the sound. Sketch a little picture. Colors, what color does it sound like? And if you don't know, that's okay. And we'll meet back here at 11:30. So that gives us about an hour and 10 minutes or so to go out and listen for the sounds around you. And so if feels a little intimidating, I invite you to just give it a shot. If this is new, it's hard only because it's new. And just sit for, maybe set a timer if this is feeling uncomfortable, for 5 minutes. And for that 5 minutes, sit wherever you're at and just close your eyes. And when you close your eyes, we focus more attention to our hearing. And then just listen for 5 minutes without journaling. Just listen, get those ears warmed up. Listen for those sounds. And then when you feel like you're ready, open your eyes and just, be curious and wonder what sounds are in my house today, or in my front yard today, or backyard, or my office, wherever you're at. And still, if the sound thing is difficult, that's okay too. Just draw what you see. And you can do a comparison drawing, like maybe pick a leaf, two leaves, or a piece of fruit. If you have a banana or an apple on your table, draw those things. Just kind of do something in your nature journal, whatever you're comfortable with. I want you to just start where you're at, and just get practice getting that pencil to the paper. Jack calls it pencil miles, right? The more pencil miles we put in, the easier it's going to get, and the better our pictures are going to look to us, right? Because I want to address those people who are a little, maybe nervous about drawing. It's not about art per se. This is not about fine art, making something that you want to send to everybody or post on the wall. It's just about recording your observations, and it's about the practice of observing nature more carefully in a way that perhaps we don't normally do, right? Unless we're drawing it. So I encourage you to just start where you're at and put something in that journal. And at 11:30, we'll come back and we'll do a reflection on, like, what was this experience like? What was surprising to you? What turned out really well on your page, right? I want to hear what turned out really well on your page. What technique did you use? And then what was still a little bit challenging? So think about that, and just think of this as an experiment, right? You don't have to share your drawing, but I will say that part of the growth process is when we share what we're doing now, who we are in this moment with other people, you're helping others grow, right? So I might see something in your drawing, Erin, that you drew outside today that's going to help me with my nature journaling practice. You may have seen something in that bird or in that plant that I didn't see, even if we were looking at the same thing. So everyone's observations are valuable. Everyone's sketches are valuable. Each of you have this wonderful way about you that you are experiencing the earth. And to be able to share that in your nature journal and with us, we're spreading light on this planet. So with that, I can let you guys, if you have any questions, raise your hand, or any comments before we log off, feel free. And otherwise, we'll see you at 11:30.